Exodus 20, verse 2 to 3. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. First commandment. So the first commandment is saying that you shall have no other gods before God. And the Lord our God is the Lord our God who brought us out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. So God qualifies that. I'm the Lord your God. What have I done? I brought you out of slavery. For Israel at that time is out of the land of Egypt, the land of slavery. For us today, it will be out of our spiritual slavery, slavery to our sin and bondage and corruption and godlessness and all this. Only God can bring us out of the godlessness because that is the empowering of the Holy Spirit. You need that power to come out of it. There's no way you can fight the spiritual darkness yourselves. All right. So the first commandment requires us to oppose both false gods and false conceptions of the true God. Do you realize what that is? It's sometimes you can. False God is clear. You and I, Christians, cannot go to any false gods. Or if you are not a Christian yet today, listening to this, you should really find out which is the true God, which is the false God. And the other thing is the false conception of the true God. That is even more tricky and disingenuous and more subtle and more cutting because you actually get to worship the true God, but your conception of the true God is wrong. So that's where the teaching is so important. There's so many people who go to church or go to church occasionally. That's why nominalism looms so large. Like there's a saying that they go to church 3 times a year. So that is what you call the Christmas, Easter, that kind of thing. This is called false conception because there is not being taught properly who the God is. That's really, really important. Christianity is you got to know who God is. All right. It's not about what the 10 Commandments are or what the what do you call this the Sermon on the Mount. Okay. People love it, right? Love your enemies and all this. Slap your right or slap on the left. And people love that because Jesus sounds so kind, so wonderful person. But you got to know Jesus. If you don't know Jesus, everything he says becomes a rules and regulations you can't keep up. That's why First Commandment is so powerful because I am the Lord your God who took you out of slavery. You have no other gods before me. See, that is why it's so important, the first, because you got to know the Lord, who your God is. The God you worship is the God who take you out from slavery, take you out of the land of Egypt. So the 2 words that you and I need to know. Number 1 is called heterodoxy, which is serious theological errors, deviations from the clear biblical teachings, especially those uniformly rejected by the church. That's called heterodoxy, which is deviance. They are serious theological errors. And the other one is full-blown heresy. Full-blown heresy is like is those that is divisive, destructive, and damnable. All right. So we need to really know the truth because there's so much. I think heresy is not hard for Christians to pick up. Heterodoxy, which is a deviations from the biblical teaching, that sometimes is hard because if you don't know the theology well, you can be sucked into it, can be wiped around, you'll be lost in it. So that's then in which case then you break the first commandment because God said you shall have no other gods before me. I'm the Lord your God. First commandment is very, very important. Okay, so that's why the Bible also says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 1, that we put our house to order first. Okay, so we should remember the biblical goals. And the second thing about the first commandment is that secularism and education. Secularism is a notion that religious conviction should be kept outside of public life. And special government policy, legislation, education, etc. should be kept in school, but religion should be out. So secularism may be the greatest challenge for the Western Christians today to observe the first commandment. Okay, how do you observe the first commandment. If secularism knock everything of God out of your public life, that is what secularism is doing. Get all Christianity out of schools, out of your society, everything. So that will be the most challenging thing for the Western Christian society today. But remember, regardless, I'm the Lord your God, first commandment, who took you out of the Egypt and took you land of Egypt and out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. Stand, regardless of where we are. So that's where our heart should be focused in.